Jonathan Schrager, Straight News TV, joined by Lou Macari, United alumnus from 73 to 84. First of all, Lou, how are we doing?
Fine, thank you. Nice to be here, nice to be in America, and start off with a win.
Lovely. And have you done? You've done some of these tours as well in the past?
I have, yeah. I've been on a few of them, and as a player, I think we need to go back to mid-70s, and we came to America. Not when American football was sort of up and running. It was just they were starting to find their feet, and I think it was touch and go whether it would actually catch on in this country, but there's no doubt about it. It's 46,000 here tonight. It's caught on in America.
Absolutely. And what do you think it is about United? I mean, we all know the magic of Manchester United, but what do you think it is that sort of resonates with the US fans?
Because they're a massive football club, and I think when they're watching the Premier League, I think most American football supporters, their team in the British Premier League is Manchester United. They see them play on the telly, they probably like the way they play, and as a result of that, they follow them. And wherever we go, as you know, large numbers. It's amazing. Yeah. Last season on the tour, the attendance, against Real Madrid was just incredible. I didn't think there was that many football fans in America that wanted to follow teams apart from obviously their own sides, but obviously with Manchester United, as we can expect, they are a big pool, but to be a big pool in America is a massive achievement.
And obviously you're an integral part of sort of United's history, looking back at the 70s and 80s, of course. Do you think progressively more United fans now in the States are in tune with the club's past?
Well, I think it's difficult. You need to, obviously, if you're a certain age and you followed United for a number of years, you don't need to think long and hard about what happened in the past. But I think the younger generation need to be told that, there was David Beckham before that, there was Roy Keane before that, there was Brian Robson, and that's a great thing about Manchester United. And of course, during my time, there was Best Law and Charlton, which probably the younger generation won't have a great idea about anything about them, but I think if their fathers or their grandfathers tell them about starting with Best Law and Charlton, they would be left in no doubt how fantastic players the three of them were.
Absolutely. And just sort of moving on to, obviously we've just seen, following the first game there, 1-0 win, all the new players were showcased today in both halves. What did you make of all of the quartet of new players?
I think when you've got four new players, to expect four of them to sort of stand out and shine, in the space of 45 minutes, it's going to be difficult. But I thought in the first 45 minutes, I thought the right back took it in his stride. Obviously, Schneiderlin got a goal. It's good to see a midfield player getting into the box. And in my opinion, the most impressive of the ones in the first 45 minutes was Depay. Even though he didn't score, he did two or three things that he thought he's clever, he's crafty, and I think on another night he might have got a goal. But I was really impressed with him. And in the second game, obviously, when you get somebody like Schweinsteiger with what he's done, it takes a great deal to impress you, because you've seen what he's done in the past. He's a World Cup winner, he's an experienced player, he knows what it's all about, and I thought the help he gave the younger players out there in the second 45 minutes, I think that was the main thing about his contribution. He was always there to give that little bit of guidance that's needed, and as a result, the younger players, I thought, did exceptionally well. Yeah,
and you mentioned Depay there. We've had players that have come to Old Trafford and there've been sort of premature comparisons with players like Ronaldo. Obviously we had Nani, his native Portuguese countryman, and he was possibly prematurely compared to him, and now people are drawing those parallels with Depay. How good do you think he could go on to be?
Well, I don't think we should ever draw comparisons between the people that you just mentioned, because I think even Nani said himself that he hoped to be the next Ronaldo. He wasn't going to be the next Ronaldo, because to live up to that, the performances we've seen from Cristiano was always going to be a big ask for any player. But we tend to do that, don't we, a little bit at Manchester United. We try and compare them with previous players we've had and build them up before they've even maybe played 2 or 3 games. So with Memphis, I wouldn't want to compare him to anybody. Just let him play, let everyone see how good a player he is, and then we'll talk about him as Memphis Depay, and not comparing him to anyone else.
Absolutely. And with the departure now of Van Persie and Falcao, I mean, you could argue maybe we're a little bit shorter up front than we were last year. Do you believe we're going to bring in a striker? And if so, which striker would you personally like us to sign?
I think we will bring in a striker, yeah. Who we will sign, that I don't know. I was talking to Ed today, and we were talking about how difficult it is to sign players, how difficult the agents make it for any football club, not just Manchester United. They're desperate to get their pound of flesh, they're desperate to get their reward out of it, and deals in the past used to be quite easy. You would ask the player whether he wants to play for Manchester United, he would say yes, and the next day he would sign, and that would take about 10-15 minutes. But nowadays, with the entourage that follow the agent, the lawyers, the advisors, the financial advisors, the property advisors, all them that are in the queue, it's never that easy. But I do believe we will strengthen the team up front. I wouldn't even like to try and guess who it'll be. There's been lots of names mentioned, and me personally, I've dismissed most of those names because I don't fit them to Manchester United. But whoever we decide to go and get, first thing I'd do, I'd like him to want to come to Manchester United. I'd like him to want to play for Manchester United, and as we've seen this week with Fabian, the lad at Villa. Delph. 1 minute he's going to Man City, next minute he's not because he wants to play with Villa, and he's back at Man City and he signs for them, and it's not good for football. So I hope we do get somebody, and that somebody, obviously, I hope really wants to play for Manchester United.
Absolutely. And just a couple more questions. Appreciate the time with Chicharito. I mean, I'm not asking, you might not be even at liberty to divulge anything, but do we know the situation with him? Is he definitely coming back, or do we know anything on Chicharito?
Well, he's a Manchester United player. He's still under contract. I think at the press conference the other day, the manager made it perfectly clear why he ended up at Real Madrid last year. We had lots of strikers. They weren't all going to play. He felt at the time he could allow him to go out and join Real Madrid. And he probably feels at this moment in time that he's got to bring him back, and he's got to bring him back into the fold to try and re-establish himself as a Manchester United player. Don't really see anything wrong with that, because I was on the tour when he signed, big smile on his face, happy-go-lucky lad. He was a breath of fresh air when he played, scored goals, got about the pitch. All right, things can go wrong with any footballer, but I think when things start to go wrong, you've got to try and bounce back. And I think Chicharito's hopefully will bounce back, and hopefully will still be at Manchester United, because the one thing about him, he can score goals. We've seen it, and once you can score goals, that never leaves you. Other things may happen during the time that you're at a football club. You may not be picked regular, and as a result of that, you may get a little bit disappointed. That's over now, that's gone. His time at Real Madrid's gone, and he's coming back to Manchester United. So I'm hoping he can get back on track. I'm hoping we'll see that big smile that we've seen when he first came from his club in Mexico. And if he does, then he'll score goals for us again. I've got no doubt about that.
And I believe Real Madrid have signed a goalkeeper, am I right in saying that? I'm sure they signed someone, and the natural question is, are we to infer that David De Gea is going to stay now?
I'm not so sure the goalkeeper they've signed will be a goalkeeper that they would want to throw in at the deep end. I don't think it's much money. It's a couple of £1 million, I think. And obviously, if he is a goalkeeper capable of going straight in their team and playing in the Champions League and playing in the Spanish League, then that's their goalkeeper. But watching them last year, unfortunately for them, I think on a couple of occasions Casillas let them down a little bit, and it was always perfectly clear in my mind that they would need a goalkeeper. They'd want a goalkeeper, and I think that goalkeeper they want is David De Gea. I'm hoping he stays at Manchester United, simple as that. But football nowadays, it's never that simple, and sometimes the players do move on, and without a doubt, if he does move on, it's going to be a bit of a setback for us. He's been Player of the Year in the last 2 years, deservedly so. He's progressed, he's got better, and it would be a shame to see him leave and go to Real Madrid. But these things happen, and if they do, then we'll go and look for another goalkeeper, I would think.
Yeah. And just one last bit, I know Robbo's on the tour as well, someone that you played alongside during your tenure at Old Trafford. Does it bring back a bit of nostalgia? Do you share a few old anecdotes when you're together? I mean, we know it was an era where maybe players were allowed to enjoy themselves a little bit more off the field.
Just a little bit, yeah. I mean, yeah, of course we do. We talk about things that happened. We talk about certain games, and we talk about the teammates we had, the characters in the dressing room, and there's plenty of them to talk about. So we were around at a good time. The football was good. The atmosphere in the dressing room at every game, every year, no matter who was involved, that was fantastic as well. And as I mentioned, some great characters that we still see, and we still laugh and joke about certain things that have happened. I'm not going to tell you what the things that did happen, but lots of things that did happen during those, the 70s and 80s. Good times, good managers, good times, and great memories. But I think all that applies to Manchester United, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And last question, I imagine some of those anecdotes you probably divulged in your autobiography. I know you've got one out. I just wanted to say, if you could suggest to maybe even younger Reds that weren't around watching football back then, why they should read your autobiography, what kind of stories there are?
I think all the players, from the past that the youngsters don't know a great deal about, if they've got some spare time, have a look and see how many games they played. And not so long ago, I won't go back to my time, but not so long ago, we had Gary Neville, we had Paul Scholes, we had Ryan Giggs, we had David Beckham and people like that. And the common thing with all those players was length of time they played at the football club, the number of games they played, in some cases the number of goals they scored. The younger generation probably think it's normal for players now to come to football clubs and be off within 3 or 4 years. It's not normal, and if we did get back to that and have players, especially at Manchester United, who were here for a long, long time and did what Gary Neville did what Paul Scholes and Giggsy did, and David Beckham, that would be fantastic. Because I remember saying on the telly that the loss of people like that, will we ever be able to find replacements that do what they've done, that the record book shows you they've played all those games, they've scored all those goals, and I think we're still trying to find that type of player, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I know yourself, you played at Old Trafford for 11 years as well, so you were that type of player as well. It's a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.